Do you ever feel like you're just floating through life, but not actually getting closer to the person you want to be? It usually happens around New Year's. You imagine all the bad habits you're finally going to break free from, and all the good habits you'll begin. This time it will be different, you say to yourself. This time I am going to do the things I say I will. But then, not long after, you find yourself back where you started, no closer to the vision you had in mind. So the real question is, how do you actually become the person you dream of becoming? How do you break free from bad habits and make the good ones easier and automatic? Atomic Habits by James Clear answers all of these questions. In this visual summary, we'll dive deep into topics like habit loops, dopamine spikes, and how to prime your environment, plus plenty more. Make sure you stick around until the end, where we'll tie everything together, and I'll walk you step by step through how I've personally been using this book to shape my own habits and how you can start applying it to yours. I hope this summary inspires you to grab a copy for yourself, because this book truly deserves a place on everyone's bookshelf. Let's jump in. Imagine a plane taking off from New York, heading toward Los Angeles. Just before takeoff, you adjust the plane's direction by only 3 degrees, about 80 inches. If you keep flying straight, you won't land in Los Angeles at all. You'll end up closer to Tijuana, Mexico. The same goes for our habits. Tiny changes in the way we live can completely shift the trajectory of our lives, often in ways we don't even notice until years later, looking back. And those changes can take us in good directions, or bad ones. At the end of the day, you are your habits. The truth about progress: when we start something new, we usually expect progress to be linear, steady growth that matches our effort. But in reality, progress looks very different. In the beginning, the small improvements aren't even noticeable. James Clear calls this stage the valley of disappointment. You've put in so much effort, but you can barely see any results. This is the point where most people give up and slip back into old routines. But the most powerful outcomes of compounding are always delayed. Patience is required. A system of atomic habits. The problem with changing your habits isn't you. The reason you repeat the same bad habits isn't because you don't want to change, it's because you've been using the wrong system for change. Atomic habits are the small routines and behaviors that, when repeated consistently, compound into significant positive outcomes over time. While big breakthroughs often capture the spotlight, it's the tiny daily decisions that truly shape our lives. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. There are 3 layers to behavior change. The first layer is changing outcomes, the results you want. Losing weight, writing a book, or winning a championship. Outcomes are what you get. The second layer is changing processes, the actions you take. Developing a new workout routine, building a reading habit, or practicing a craft. Processes are what you do. The third and deepest layer is changing identity, what you believe about yourself. Your worldview, your self-image, and how you think about who you are. Most people focus only on outcomes. But the most effective way to change your habits is to focus on the person you want to become, not just the results you want to achieve. The habit loop. A habit is formed when a behavior is repeated enough times that it becomes automatic. In the end, habits exist to solve problems in our lives with the least effort possible. Habits are created and reinforced through a continuous feedback loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. For example, cue: your phone buzzes. Craving: you want to know who messaged you. Response: you pick up your phone. Reward: you satisfy your curiosity. Cues can be anything: a sight, a sound, a smell, a place, even a person. Start paying attention to the cues in your daily life that are triggering both your good and bad habits. So the question becomes, how can we reshape the habit loop to work in our favor? That's where James Clear introduces the 4 laws of behavior change, a framework designed to help us build good habits and break bad ones. Law 1. Make it obvious. Most of your habits are so automatic that you don't even notice them. Before you can change, you first need awareness. One way to do this is through a habit scorecard. Write down your daily behaviors from the moment you wake up until you go to bed, then categorize each as positive, negative, or neutral depending on whether they help you become the person you want to be. At this stage, the goal is not to change anything, but simply to observe what's really happening in your daily life. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Clarity is key. Many people fail to stick to a habit not because of a lack of motivation, but because of a lack of clarity. For example, vague intentions like "I will read more this month" rarely lead to progress. What you need is a clear time and place, like, "I will read a book for 15 minutes every morning at 6 a.m. in the spare bedroom." Law 2. Make it attractive. We take action when we expect to be rewarded. The more rewarding something feels, the more likely it is to become a habit. That's why the first step in forming a good habit is to make it attractive. Dopamine plays a key role in this process. Once thought to be simply about pleasure, dopamine is actually tied to motivation, learning, memory, and movement. Importantly, dopamine spikes not only when we experience pleasure, but when we anticipate it. This is why the craving comes before the action. The anticipation drives behavior. For example, gamblers experience a dopamine surge before placing a bet, not after winning. We are also deeply influenced by the people around us. If you want to develop a habit, join a culture where that habit is the norm. Want to get fit? Spend time with people who value health. As James Clear puts it, your habits are modern-day solutions to ancient desires. To make challenging habits more appealing, shift your perspective. Highlight the benefits instead of the downsides. For example, exercise equals health and strength, not fatigue. Cleaning equals peace of mind, not wasted time. Saving money equals freedom, not sacrifice. Law 3. Make it easy. How long does it actually take to form a new habit? When building habits, the key isn't time, it's repetition. Each time you repeat a behavior, your brain strengthens the neural pathways that make it more automatic. Habits aren't built by counting days on a calendar, but by the number of times you perform them. This leads us to an important principle, the law of least effort. The more energy a behavior requires, the less likely it is to happen. Reading a single page of a book is effortless, which makes it easier to build into your routine. But if going to the gym requires a 20-minute detour, chances are you won't go often. On the other hand, if the gym is right on your commute, the friction is greatly reduced and you're far more likely to stick with it. Good habits become sustainable when we make them convenient. Instead of relying on motivation, focus on reducing the friction that stands in your way. At the same time, make your bad habits harder by increasing friction. One effective method is priming your environment. For example, laying out your workout clothes the night before makes it much easier to exercise in the morning. If you want to cook a healthier breakfast, set the pan on the stove and gather the ingredients in advance. Small adjustments like these lower the barrier to action. To break bad habits, flip this strategy around. Add friction to make them harder. If you want to watch less TV, unplug it after each use and put the remote somewhere inconvenient. If you struggle with impulse spending, leave your credit cards in the car when you shop. The more effort it takes to act on a bad habit, the less likely it is to happen. In short, make good habits easy, and bad habits hard. Law 4. Make it satisfying. The most important rule of behavior change is simple: pleasure teaches the brain to repeat. A feeling of satisfaction is a signal this feels good, let's do it again. When something is immediately rewarded, it is repeated. When something is immediately punished, it is avoided. The first 3 laws of habit change increase your chances of doing a habit in the moment. This final law increases your chances of doing it again in the future. One challenge we face is the mismatch between immediate and delayed returns. Bad habits often feel good right away but leave us with negative long-term outcomes. Good habits are the opposite. They can feel unpleasant or effortful at first, but they lead to deeply rewarding results over time. To overcome this, attach a small burst of immediate satisfaction to the habits that will pay off in the long run and add a bit of discomfort to the ones that won't. How to stick with good habits every day. The key to making habits stick is to feel successful, even in small ways. That feeling of progress signals to your brain that the effort was worthwhile. One way to reinforce this is through visual measures of progress. For example, move a marble from one jar to another after every sales call, or shift a paperclip for every 25 minutes of writing. How to recover when habits break down. No matter how disciplined you are, life will inevitably disrupt your habits at some point. Maybe it's a bad day at work, a poor performance, or simply feeling off. What matters most in those moments is showing up, even in a reduced form. One missed day isn't the end of the world, but missing twice in a row can be the beginning of a new bad habit. On a tough day, it's better to do 10 push-ups instead of your usual 50 than to skip entirely. Small actions protect your momentum. If you are actually getting value from this content, please hit that subscribe button for more valuable content like this. How I personally use this book. It's one thing to read a book, but another to actually apply it to your life. I want to share how I've personally been using the ideas in this book to build systems around my habits. Maybe your approach will look different, or maybe you'll see ways I could improve. The good habits I wanted to develop were a consistent workout routine and a regular reading practice. The bad habit I wanted to eliminate was wasting too much time on social media. I started with a habit scorecard. This helped me identify habits I could cut out, but more importantly, it highlighted the daily routines I already had, ones I could use as anchors to stack new habits onto. For working out, the first step was making the cues obvious. I used an implementation strategy: I will work out in the living room each morning. To support that, I redesigned my environment by taking my dumbbells out of storage and keeping them in plain sight. I even put up a few photos of healthy physiques as visual reminders. Next came cravings. To make my workouts more appealing, I bundled them with listening to some of my favorite podcasts. I also reframed the way I talked to myself. Instead of saying, "I have to work out," I started saying, "I get to build strength and a healthier body." That small shift in mindset has been powerful. When it came to making the habit easy, I applied the 2-minute rule. My only requirement was to put on my workout clothes and stretch. Even if that's all I did, it still counted as a win. Strangely enough, once I started, I usually felt motivated to finish the full workout. I focused on small, consistent improvements rather than vague goals. My system wasn't about chasing results, it was about showing up. Over time, those small steps began compounding. To reduce friction, I made a rule: no checking my phone until after my workout. That removed one of the biggest distractions standing between me and my new habit. Another game changer was priming my environment. Each night, I'd set out my shoes, yoga mat, and dumbbells. By doing so, it felt like the workout had already begun, and I had no excuses in the morning. To make sure I kept repeating the habit, I used a habit tracker. Crossing off each day on the calendar became my reward, and I didn't want to break the chain. I'd also take a picture of the calories I burned and send it to my partner, which made the progress feel even more satisfying. My mindset also shifted toward identity. After each workout, I reminded myself, I want to be the kind of person who enjoys fitness and never misses workouts. I avoided obsessing over outcomes, like hitting a certain weight by a specific date. Instead, I reminded myself to be patient, knowing that results would come with time. I applied the same process to my reading habit with a few tweaks. I used habit stacking. After making coffee, I would read. Coffee became my trigger. I also created a dedicated space reading on the balcony so that environment became linked to the activity. Bundling the pleasure of coffee with reading worked perfectly, and soon the anticipation of coffee became tied to the anticipation of reading. The 2-minute rule helped again. At first, I only committed to reading 1 page of the Daily Stoic. That tiny action anchored the habit, and before long, it naturally grew into longer sessions. As for eliminating social media overuse, I made my phone as boring as possible by deleting unnecessary apps. I reframed the habit to make it unattractive, telling myself things like, consuming is easy and lazy, but producing is rewarding. I even thought of endless scrolling as something for people who weren't serious about their goals. To increase friction, I kept my phone in another room while working. And to make it unsatisfying, I involved an accountability partner. If I was caught using social media during work time, I owed $10. That small consequence kept me in check. This is how I've been applying the lessons from the book, and the results have been fantastic. I hope this breakdown helps you understand the concepts in a practical way. If you haven't already, I highly recommend reading the book for yourself. You'll gain an even deeper understanding through the stories and advanced strategies James Clear shares. Thanks for following along, and I'll see you in the next one.